It is my pleasure to introduce Mel, who I have asked to share with SPED 885 regarding her work as a leader within early childhood special education, and particularly thinking about her role as a leader in collaborating with paraprofessionals that she has worked with. So, Mel, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you. Will you share a little bit about yourself and your path in early childhood special education up to this point?
Yeah, so I currently work in Vacaville. I live in Solano County. I've been in early childhood education since like 1999. I started out as a gen ed preschool teacher just for like a city program. And I took a few classes at the community college, honestly, because I needed benefits and they sounded fun and easy.
Yeah, that's great.
I would have known that I would love it.
No, did you know that was my 1999 was my first year as a paraprofessional, actually.
Oh, how funny.
I feel like we entered the field at kind of at the same time. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Good year.
So I ended up loving it. And so I got my AA and ECE, and I eventually went to work for Head Start. And I was a Head Start teacher for about 8 years. And that was when I really started to think about ECSE, because Head Start's mandated to have 10% of their students to have IEPs.
Mhm.
There was some collaboration with service providers. We got to, check in, see what the kids were working on and what we could do in our classrooms to support them. And I had to learn how to help these kids be successful in my classroom with really little experience in that area. So there was lots of trial and error, lots of creativity, and I just really started to love it.
Mm-hmm.
We also did screenings and referrals, and I found that I sort of had a gift of kind of sort of knowing like something's not quite right. Like, let's look deeper. Let's provide some intervention. And I just found that was one of my strengths. And I decided I wanted to go back to school. So unfortunately, Head Start was not able to work with my schedule for me to go back to school. So I took a leap of faith and stopped working there and got a job as a paraprofessional for a county office. I worked in a preschool classroom that was an inclusive program. It was for students with moderate to severe disabilities. And I worked with a fantastic teacher who not so gently nudged me to go back to school.
Great.
So that was when and actually I lived closer to way closer to Sacramento, but they didn't have a program at the time. And so I decided I'm just gonna go to SF State and drive, 2, 3, 4 hours to get to school. And so I got into the program there and started working for Fairfield Sassoon as a resource teacher in an inclusive classroom. That for 4 years, and then went back to the county office for a year. This really unique position popped open for Vacaville, and so that's where I'm at now. And I've been there for 3 days.
I know. And I just was feeling so grateful that you were doing this right at the start of the school year too. So thank you. That's cool. I feel like I didn't realize all of that with your journey too. I definitely recognize that you were driving a long way while you were coming to school here, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. So one of the things I just wanted to talk about particularly with you was leading a team of paraprofessionals within the classrooms that you have been. And I like that you have the perspective both from as a paraprofessional and as a teacher too, because you have the understanding of what both feel like as well. So I'm just interested in learning a little bit about what have you learned from working closely with paraprofessionals? Maybe talking about a little bit of the experience of like who, maybe in one situation, who was in your team of paraprofessionals, and just what you've learned from developing kind of a team and working together with these individuals.
I think my greatest takeaway about working with paras is that I really feel like they are the ones who are keeping our classroom together. Like I always say, they're the backbone of the classroom, and they really are. They are always jumping in to, you know, take care of something, to support somewhere. They're multitaskers. And I couldn't survive without them. And I think that having been a para was really important for me. And like, I always am like, remember your roots, because I think they need to feel valued in your classroom. They need to feel appreciated. They need to feel prepared. And so, you know, I recognize that, yeah, I think sometimes in a teacher role, we think like we've always got to be the one who's got all the answers, who knows exactly what to do, who can jump at a dime and, you know, do all of these things. And I think sometimes we burn ourselves out trying to do all of these things when you've got these people who are here to help and support. And so I try to kind of draw upon their strengths.
Yeah.
And like this past year, for example, I had 3 very experienced paras. But they all had different reasons for being there, as they do. They all had different things they were comfortable with. Their levels of confidence varied significantly. And so, you know, I had one in particular who was, she was very insecure about her skills. So I tried to just kind of get to know everybody initially and see what their favorite things were in the classroom. This particular para, you know, she didn't feel comfortable leading circle time and didn't feel comfortable planning activities. And that's okay.
Totally.
So, but she was great and nurturing and, you know, took wonderful care of the children. And that's okay. And I think as a teacher, you know, you can nudge a little bit, but some people are okay with that, but can still be a really valuable support. And I think acknowledging that and still acknowledging the importance of their role in your classroom is so important. And I think, and again, having been a para in being in the lunchroom with other paras, you know, people talk and you know what kinds of things, issues pop up in classrooms, and nobody wants to not feel like a valued member of the classroom community, just as we do with the children. You know, we give lots of positive affirmations and you're doing great. I appreciate you. I love the way you did that. Or sometimes just like, hey, that was awesome the way you handled that. Great job. I think we all need to hear those things. And so I really just, you know, I try to really keep that in mind and just make sure that they know that they're valued.
Yeah, I just resonate. I resonate with that a lot. Just like, I mean, when I hear you talking, I just think about how you're investing in a community like of these people, like your team within this classroom. And I love your idea of like relying, like they're there to support. And it just, there's so many more ideas and people seeing things. And I think about sometimes with those with paraprofessional roles, they're more one-on-one with a kid or in small groups, and they're seeing things that you just can't as a teacher because you're doing other stuff or seeing the broader. And so like the value that can come from being like, well, what are you seeing? Or like, what happened before? Like, what do you think? Just feels like sometimes such an untapped resource there. And of course, I love your idea too. I mean, it's just like working with all people, finding out what people's strengths are and building on that and knowing like, that there's different roles and different assets that everybody can bring in. That feels really important and affirming too.
Yeah, and I think too, like as a teacher, I don't know, we come in, you know, we have this idea of like, you know, I have to be this really strong leader. I have to always have my hand in each pot. I have to always know what's going on. I have to be on top of so many things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've learned to just let go of some of those things. Yes, of course, we want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the day-to-day stuff, it's okay to let it go and let these people, you know, handle it.
Yeah.
They're capable. They would, if they weren't, they wouldn't be in that position. So, you know, I just feel like let people have the opportunity to try ideas, to share ideas. And sometimes, you know, I have a para who will share an idea and I'm like,
Yeah. You're like, can
It'll
we
work.
reframe this in a different
But,
way?
I've learned to say, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
let's try that, or let's tweak that a bit and let's give it a try.
Yeah.
And I find that, you'll see their confidence increase. And again, just
Mhm.
like we do with our students, kind of scaffolding them along, we're
Right.
meeting them where they're at, all of those things. I think it's very similar. Like we're all just people here to grow and, be a part of a team together. And I think as the leader, like we really should nurture that.
I agree. To just go on a tangent for a second, when I think about what you're saying, I think about how important it is to just develop a way of communicating with your paraprofessional team, which can be hard at times if they're coming right at the start of school and they're leaving
Mhm.
right at the end, or they might even have to like go on transportation with kids, or and like they're there for a really set amount of time. So I'm curious, have you found what's been the most successful way for you to figure out like how to communicate and build community with your paraprofessionals?
Um, I think it really depends on the person. I have
Yeah.
the ones I had last year, like we had a group text and we did
Yeah.
and I tried to not, I wasn't like texting on Friday night about how the day went,
Yeah.
respectful of time and everything. But most of us are, have our phones and are texting. And so we had a little group chat going. And
Yeah.
even just in the beginning, just like have an awesome weekend, or I brought some treats for us, or,
Yeah.
I think those things just start to build rapport. And then, and actually, yeah, technology really is how we communicated with each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. That's a
Some in the
great.
past where they weren't real tech savvy. And so we would just take a little bit of time, even if it's a quick couple of minutes, just to check in like, hey, I'm here. We're in this together. We've got this. Sometimes I just jot something on the board.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, that's a great.
yeah.
It feels important to try and carve out that space. And as you're saying, you're right. Like different teams will find different ways that that works,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah. You just have
cool
to be, you have to be willing to be flexible too.
for
We
sure.
prepare us to be very flexible,
Yeah,
but we also, need to be flexible as well.
for sure. So when you think about in working with a team of paraprofessionals in your classroom, what has been some of the great things that have come out of that for you, and what are some of the things that you found most challenging?
I think that the I think it's my own behavior. It was that I finally changed my behavior, because I was definitely that teacher who was like, everything's got to be, in all honesty, my way.
Yeah,
Be my way.
yeah,
This is what's going to work. This is, and that was hard. That was hard for paras. We didn't have like conflict per se, but I could see, a little bit of distress, a little bit of I had a para who would like get kind of nervous if I was near. Not that I'm an
mhm,
intimidating person, but she's, got
yeah,
kind of nervous and she'd go, I don't really know, here, you do it. And then I thought, oh man, this is not okay. Like this isn't working for anyone. And I felt really bad.
yeah,
And so I realized like I've got to change my behavior, um,
mhm,
and let people try ideas, ask for input. Um,
mhm,
just simply like, what do you think? Or did you notice, this happening today? And I think just
yeah,
those kinds of things send a message of like, you matter, your input is valued, your knowledge is valued. And so I really think I just had to, kind of humble myself a little bit and put aside some of those expectations of things always being, you know, um, perfect and organized, and because that's not the reality.
mhm,
And so I think when I was able to let things go and really embrace my team, um, and all the supports that I had available and that were available to the children, I think that really made a huge difference.
that's such a powerful thing and vulnerable to say like that. It's not like getting a new paraprofessional or changing environment like that, there it does kind of begin with like self-reflection to say, hold on, what can I do that's going to help this be more successful too? So yeah, that's powerful.
And actually what I think what really impacted that the most was my leadership class.
There you go, 885. There you go.
Yeah, it really, it made a difference in just thinking about people and their, their perspectives, their past history, their values, all of those things, and really, really reflecting on it. And then reflecting on my own, it really made a huge difference. And not just even in my paraprofessional relationships, but in all of my relationships. Yeah. And so it was so impactful.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's great. Is there you've already talked about some strategies too, so maybe we've covered it, but is there one or two strategies that you found in particularly successful in like building a community with your paraprofessionals or working together?
I think lots of, I would say like verbal reassurance and I'm not great with verbal stuff, but I'll, even just writing, hey, we've got this, you guys, like, we're gonna rock today. But I also, this past couple of years, I really tried to be, really expressive about, how great my staff is. I could tell someone, like, oh man, I've got this rock star team, but why am I not telling my rock star team that they're a team of rock stars? And really trying to be intentional and really, okay, even in the beginning, it's like, okay, today I'm going to make sure I tell each person something that they did that was awesome. That's more than a good job. Like the way you did X, Y, Z was so great. It was so helpful for them. The child, whatever, being really specific and intentional, just as we do with our students.
Right.
And it becomes habit.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well for me.
Yeah, that seems super important. I mean, and the intentionality seems important. Like if you're keeping in mind, I think about how like we're keeping in mind of trying to see the awesome and the positive in the kids, but then like not to make sure that that's spanned out with a team that you're leading and working with and paraprofessionals seems pretty. It also makes me just think about how important it is like that there's like assurance, like they're trying something new, you're noticing it's great. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like, or if that kid's just, it's not their day to connect with them, it's okay. Like this space to like be able to say, I need help, or this isn't working, or I need a break, or whatever that is, just feels good. I just know it just made me reflect on an experience in one classroom as a paraprofessional myself, where it did not feel like there was a space to say that, right? Or like it didn't feel like we had the support. And if you made a mistake or if things just weren't going well, you didn't necessarily have the support to be like, hey, let me help you, or it's okay to go take a break. I'm going to take this for a little bit. And there was just, it feels like that's such an important part of it, to just be able to have that trust. Like, it's okay if this isn't working, then we're going to work on this together. Feels really important.
It does. Cause I think about times, like we all have times in our lives where someone's made us feel, like, inadequate, or, like we didn't know what we were doing. It's a terrible feeling. And then also I think about times where I've started to feel that way, but then someone just said like, it's all good. Like we've got this, or we have a laugh, and there's just such this weight lifted. And so knowing like you really, you have the power to do that for somebody else and to help them, kind of breathe a sigh of relief, and then, revisit later and talk about it and, reflect on it. And, I think that builds skills, that builds confidence, and just, to have that feeling of, like, hey, this person feels like I know what I'm doing. It's very motivating.
Yeah, it totally is.
Everyone to have a sense of fulfillment from their work.
For sure.
And, I've heard paras say like, oh, I'm just a para. And it's like, no, it's not allowed in this room.
Yeah.
And So yeah.
Yeah, how true. Do you think that when you look back, I think a lot of what you're saying relates to somebody that's just starting off their profession too. But if you think about yourself as like a new teacher coming in and entering this team where there's paraprofessionals, is there anything that you wish that you would know or things that you would want to pass on to a new educator?
I think just knowing you don't have to have all the answers is
Mhm.
so important. You don't have to always know what to do when a child's having a blowout. You don't always, you're not going to.
Yeah.
And I wish that I would have leaned on my paras at the time. I wish I would have leaned on them a little bit more.
Mhm.
But there's this, when you're first starting, there's this you're trying to figure each other out.
For sure.
I noticed a lot of times my paras would kind of wait and go like,
Yeah.
what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
I feel like I better know what to do. And so I think, again, just kind of being able to be like, all right, you guys, like, let's tackle this together.
Mhm.
I think is just so helpful. And, again, the more you lean on your support staff and work together, it just makes it easier, more enjoyable for everybody.
So true. And just ending, do you want to share a little bit about the work that you're doing right now and what kind of motivated you to take this brand new position?
Sure. So I just started a position with Vacaville with their school district. I'll be a member of I am
Mhm.
a member of their assessment team. So I am not going to be regularly in a classroom, so I'm still adjusting to that.
Mhm.
But I will be assessing students who've been children who've been referred either by our regional center or by their doctor or their parents for evaluation.
Mhm.
And so I do the academic assessment. I work with a team with our school psych, our OT, PT, and our speech language pathologist. And so I'll be assessing children, writing their reports, having the initial IEP, and then supporting placement. The most important, I think, being supporting parents through this beginning of their journey. I've wanted to work closer with families, and I've sat in on IEP sometimes where I feel like, oh, this family, you can see they're struggling, or I'd feel like, oh, I wish someone would explain that a little bit differently and maybe not so techie. And so I really hope to be a support and just support families through this, through the initial IEP process, understand what's going on, and then know that we are there to support them and to support their child and just nurture their growth and development as they go into preschool. So it'll be really exciting and fun, and I'll get to know a lot of teachers, and I'll get to visit a lot of classrooms. Vacaville's really moving toward more inclusion. And so one of the really great things about this position is that part of my assessment will be getting to take children into classrooms for a period of time and seeing how they do, which will be really fun. So
That's really cool.
I'm excited. Yeah.
I'm excited for you. And I'm just excited for the impact that you could make in that role too. Awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Mel, or did we cover it all?
I think we covered it all.
Okay. Thank you so
Yeah,
much again for
thanks.
taking this time.
Sure.